Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 452. Welcome to Monday. Back to the work week, back to a regular schedule, at least for what? Another 5 days until we get at least New Year's. And I like when holidays fall on weekends. Now working from home, working for myself, it's much different. Like I didn't have that dread on Sunday night after Christmas, like, I have to go back to work tomorrow. So at least I have that going for me where it's like, yes, I get to go to work tomorrow morning. New Year's, it's a little different because it's not the hustle and bustle of family and dinners and presents, cleaning up all the wrappers. So at least with New Year's, we don't have that. Now, I will be out of town, so I won't be live on Saturday, but I will be live regular on Friday morning and then again Sunday morning. So I like it when holidays fall. It's that nice break. There's nothing worse than like a Wednesday Christmas, and if you have to go back to work Thursday, Friday, and then it's the Monday, Tuesday is like a worthless because especially if you're in sales, people just take the week. A lot of people just take the week off if it falls in the middle of the week. Anyway, I digress. Our white Christmas came 2 days late. There's snow on the ground this morning, but it's very minimal. In fact, I looked out the back window and you can still see blades of grass in the backyard. So probably not even an inch. We had, I think they were reporting 1 inch of snow to date this 2021 second half winter. So from October to now. So I think there's probably half an inch to an inch. Enough that I'm going to have to go out later this morning and just kind of push the snow. Not enough to fire up the snow blower, which always makes me nervous the first day of snow. I should probably check that. I actually probably should fire it up this morning just in case, because there's nothing worse than trying to fire up a snow blower when there's 8 inches of snow in your driveway and it doesn't work. It needs a new spark plug or oil or whatever. So I should do that. Every time I say stuff on this show, I immediately forget. So I should write myself a note. Fire up that damn snowblower. So I'm going to have to just push the snow. 79, 75 for Brad in Texas. What's up, Dan, Zach? Good morning, all. Dan says, I guess I'll stop watching football highlights and watch you. There you go. So let's see. So yesterday I shipped over 200 packages because I didn't do any shipping on Christmas Day. So I had it was a Boxing Day for me. Basically shipped all day. So that's what I did. My sales, and we talked about that Christmas coffee mug. This is what happens when this is laundry day for coffee. This is my Mrs. So mine is Mr. Right, and then my wife's is Mrs. Always Right. So I'm using my wife's coffee mug because all of the rest are in the dishwasher. So it's laundry day for the dishes. 32 in Korea. That's probably what's very similar temperature here. Snow on the ground, but it's still mild for snow. Kim has the same mug. So a lot of shipping yesterday. We just was talking. So Christmas Eve, great sales on eBay. Christmas Eve was great. Christmas Day sucked. Very slow sales day. And then yesterday kind of was a boom. So I think people were waiting until yesterday to use their eBay gift cards. So much better day on the day after Christmas for my eBay store. So American Underdog was released in theaters, I believe, Christmas Day. It's the story of Kurt Warner. I'm very excited to watch this. I don't know. See, a lot of movies are coming out on both, like in the theaters and on streaming services, but I don't think this one is. So I'm not much of a theater guy. My wife and I usually go to the movies like once or twice a year. Lately, like the last few years, well, the last couple of years we haven't gone at all, but prior to, it's been like Christmas movies. And my wife and I have like the exact opposite in taste in movies. Every once in a while, American Sniper was one we went to. The Fox News Bombshell, I think was the name. We went to that movie. But otherwise, it's like Christmas movies, like the song with Wham in the background with the woman from Game of Thrones. We watched that one 2 years ago. Christmas Party, Office Christmas Party, night before. So anyway, American Underdog is out in theaters. Story of Kurt Warner. Really want to see this. I like grew up, not literally, but I grew up with Kurt Warner. And the reason I say that is I grew up in the Quad Cities area. Kurt Warner played his college football just a couple hours away from where I grew up. He played at Cedar Falls, Iowa, Northern Iowa University. Or actually, it's University of Northern Iowa, UNI. Played there, and then he went on to have a great arena football career. Played for the Iowa Barnstormers. Both programs, Northern Iowa football, Iowa Barnstormers, covered heavily by my local newscasts and local newspapers out of the Quad Cities, the papers that I delivered, as a matter of fact, as a paper boy. So kind of alongside that, so I, followed Kurt Warner's exploits, but it was just, it wasn't like superstar Kurt Warner, what he became. It was just, he's a really good quarterback. So along the same lines, the Los Angeles Rams moved to St. Louis around the time I was in junior high. I think 1995 was their first year in St. Louis. 1996, they held their training camp at Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois. St. Louis was pretty far from where I grew up. But Macomb was only an hour and 45 minutes from my hometown. As a young kid, my parents would take me up to Platteville, Wisconsin to watch the Chicago Bears at training camp. So we had this like training camp thing, and now it's like, well, Macomb's even closer. Let's go watch the Rams. Now, also, my next door neighbor was a big Los Angeles Rams football fan, going back to like the Norm Van Brocklin days. So he's a big Rams fan. In fact, he would gag gift me Rams stuff because he knew I was a diehard Bears fan. So I still to this day at my mom's house, and in fact, it might be in the box of magazines she brought with me, was a Rams pennant that he gave me when I was like 7 years old. He would always go to Rams Bears games in Chicago. Sometimes he'd fly out to California. So he was a big Rams fan. So I kind of had, like, they were in my periphery even when they were in LA, just because of that connection. Now they're even closer. And now they're even closer. And we go to training camp. Now I get to know the players, like watching them practice, getting their autographs. Now I'm becoming a Rams fan. Dan says, I might have asked you this, but how far were you from Abingdon? Abingdon, 1B and a D, not a T. Abingdon was about an hour from where I grew up. 45 minutes to an hour from where I grew up. And also about 40 minutes from where I lived in Macomb. In fact, I have many friends from Abingdon, a couple that still live in Abingdon. The Abingdon Commandos was the high school mascot there. Now the Tornadoes. They consolidated with another area school. So yes, very familiar with Abingdon. And so the Rams are now in Macomb. It is by Monmouth. Yes, it is. So the Rams are in Macomb, and we would drive right through Monmouth on our way down Route 67 to Macomb, watch the Rams at training camp. And I'm getting to the age, so I'm in 8th grade at this point. So I'm 8th grade, 9th grade. So college options are starting to, come to the forefront here as I get into high school. And it's like, wow, Western Illinois. If I come here, I could work the training camp, because a lot of the interns that worked training camp were college students from Western Illinois University. So it's like, wow, I want to come here so I can go to practice every day. How cool would that be? Brad said, I lived in Mount Vernon, Illinois for a few years when I was in elementary school. Can I root for the Rams legally? Brad, I had no idea. I did not know that you lived in Illinois for a period of time. So I started rooting for the Rams. Now I want to attend WIU. Fast forward to college decision making. I was a slacker in high school, went the JUCO route. And then when I was in JUCO, again, I was still a slacker. I liked to party, and I would spend more time at Illinois State than I would at Western Illinois or at Blackhawk, where I went to school. And it was like one semester I want to go to ISU. The next semester I want to go to WIU. I end up just going to WIU because I was working in radio at the time. I was at JUCO at Blackhawk. My boss, the owner of the radio station, had a connection to one of the higher ups at the radio station in Macomb. So he's like, hey, I can get you an interview. They're looking for some help. So I interview. I get the job. I'm going to Macomb. I'm going to Western. That was basically what pushed me to Western Illinois, was a job, not the actual school. My school of choice was because of a job. So in the interview, I want to be a sport. I want to be ESPN. I want to be the next ESPN Sports Center anchor. And so in the interview process, they're selling me on Macomb and this is Western and all of that. So they're selling me the Rams. You can work. You want to go into sports? You can work. You can cover the St. Louis Rams, an NFL team, if you work here at K100. So I was taking the job anyway. So I took the job, got the job. 2003, summer of 2003, I had just started. I'm covering training camp. I'm going out there. In fact, so this is 2003, almost 20 years ago. This is my digital recorder. I don't even want to open it. I think there's still a battery in there from, 10 years ago at least or more, because I did use this for quite a while. I paid like $150. 150. This fits like 2 hours of audio. Can you believe this is pre-iPod, Sony digital recorder. Most people were still using the cassette deck tapes, those big bulky cassette deck recorders. I went out. This is probably this is a radio paycheck right here. This is about what I made in a 2-week period. So I got the digital recorder. And I'm out covering an NFL team. How old was I? 21 years old. And there's Kurt Warner. So here's a team that I had grown up junior high into high school watching, getting autographs as a teenager. Kurt Warner goes from Northern Iowa to the Arena League. Now he's bagging groceries at Hy-Vee. Then he gets a call, and he's going to come to training camp. And I remember being at that training camp. I got his autograph several times. He would always sign. And even when he became a superstar, he still signed for everybody. Everybody. So, and here he is. I remember the training camp. He's like a third-string quarterback. Trent Green goes down with an injury. Kurt Warner gets the call. All of a sudden, he's, boom, greatest show on turf. Super Bowl champion, Kurt Warner. Amazing story. I really want to watch American Underdog. So now I'm working in radio. I'm in Macomb. I'm at K100. And on my thumbnail, I've got a bunch of my media credentials most of those are from when I worked at the university. And I still have, and it's like a credit card with my picture. And actually, I don't know if I think it's just a picture of the Edward Jones Dome. But it says my name, Bo Thompson, K100, St. Louis Rams training camp credential. Couldn't find that. I was looking for it this morning. Couldn't find it. So I'm looking forward to the movie. So I'll transition to some Kurt Warner stories here. Dan says, taking journalism classes and you already work at a station. And actually, I didn't take journalism classes. I ended up, that was the plan. my plan was to go into the broadcasting department, and here I am working. My job at the radio station that I took was I was already working full time, and I got a full time job on a morning show, on a top 40 morning show, as a 21 year old. So I got very lucky in that regard. Decided, much to my mom and dad's chagrin, they were very upset with me. I decided not to enroll, and I decided to work. And I didn't go back to school for 8 years, 6 to 8 years, and then I went into the business school, which was the best. Not going to school, not continuing my college career at age 20 was the best decision I ever made, because I was not mature enough. Like I said, I was basing my college decision on which was the better party school, and I'd skip Friday classes so I could go party. And I was not a mature student. I matured late, and I would not have. It would have been a waste of a lot of money and a degree. And I matured up and went to business school. Here I am today. Best decision I made was delaying. The latest in tech, that digital recorder. Yes, it was. Brad, can't wait to see the movie. What's up, Brian? Good morning, Brian. I wanted to go to RTVF in college before I got my kinesiology degree. So Kurt Warner, here I am, 21 years old, working training camp. Kurt Warner, one of my, and I don't, and now that I worked in radio for 12, 13, 14 years, I always had, and I had some great mentors early on in my career. Act like you've been here before. Don't go in like, oh my God, it's a celebrity if you're interviewing or anywhere. So I always had that in the back, but I did kind of get starstruck one day after morning practice. And at this time, this was back in 2003, media and the players actually shared a cafeteria, because most of in the cafeteria was mainly for like the out of town media, not the guys like me who lived 2 blocks away and could just run home for lunch. They were for like the out of towners who were living at a hotel for 3 weeks. But one of my coworkers is like, oh yeah, they got a great spread. We go eat lunch here every day. So Mike took me to Thompson Hall, where the cafeteria, that's where the players stayed, the dorms. And it was like, I mean, you're literally like eating with NFL players, and I'm in line. And of course you always, the players go first, and yep, go ahead. And all of a sudden the guy in front of me turns around. He's like, you got to try the Salisbury steak. The guy who liked the Salisbury steak, none other than Kurt Warner. And him and I just talked food for a couple minutes as we're in line for lunch. And I carried on a normal conversation without stuttering and stumbling and being all starstruck, but I was completely starstruck that I'm talking Salisbury steak with Kurt Warner, the guy who just 5 years prior, I was a teenager asking for his autograph. So that makes sense. He would like steak. So that's that was like my starstruck moment. My first iPod that I ever like saw in person was Adam Archuleta, who I believe is still commentating on NFL games. Arch had an iPod, and wow, it fits like 100 songs. 100 songs. Can you believe that on this little, the size of my Sony digital recorder? So that was my first. That was in the cafeteria at lunch. Archuleta's showing off his new Apple iPod. It's like, wow, I've never seen iPod. Yeah, iPod. So also one other Kurt Warner story. What was really cool is we would have like, NFL celebrities would come into training camp, and Commissioner Paul Tagliabue was in town. Stuart Scott from ESPN. One year we had the Tennessee Titans came to Macomb, and they had like a scrimmage to together. The Chicago Bears, that was great. Chicago Bears came in. That was the second year. They were only in Macomb for 2 years. The first 2 years I was in Macomb, and then they began training closer to St. Louis, and that was kind of mid 2000s is when a lot of NFL teams decide, because it used to be like they would get away. NFL teams would get away, so they weren't distracted. And a lot of teams at one point, I think Wisconsin, I moved up here too late. Wisconsin had like 6 NFL teams. I know the Chiefs were up here, the Saints, the Bears, the Packers. I think Jacksonville Jaguars trained up here. But at one point, there were 6 NFL teams that held their summer training camp in the state of Wisconsin. There's so many like universities that have great football facilities here in Wisconsin. So 2 years, and they were gone. So, but they played the first year, I think it was the Titans, and then my second summer it was the Chicago Bears, which was awesome. Being a Bears fan. So my one other Kurt Warner story was ESPN guys would come in. John Clayton, who's rest in peace. John Clayton was a very small in stature, and I'm a average, I guess, to the general population. I'm average height, 5'11", average height. Brad, I won't make any height jokes here. So average height. But when you're in an NFL training camp, all the players are skying over you, and a lot of the media are former players themselves. Jack Snow, also rest in peace. Jack Snow was great. Jack would talk to us all the time, and he was great out there. So a lot of the media were Giants as well. John Clayton, a small, short. He was below average height. Small and short is probably not what I should say. He was below average height. So there were basically media scrums after practice. You would have a media scrum, which is where the players would break, and all of a sudden everybody would go scrum around a player and get their quotes. So I'm a rookie reporter, and I kind of know. I'm still learning. I'm learning the ropes. So I see Kurt Warner, and I'm looking for some quotes from Kurt Warner for whatever reason that day, and there's not a scrum around him. It's just John Clayton from ESPN. So I just a rookie reporter, and I'm confident. I'm 21. I'm confident. Rookie reporter. My digital recorder. Hit record. John Clayton mid-sentence stops. Looks at me with piercing eyes. Excuse me. Do you mind if we? I can't remember what he said, but he was, and Brad says he was a class act. That was my only interaction with him, but he was very professional about it. And I learned there are times where even out in the middle of a practice field, there are times for exclusives, and yeah, John Clayton's piercing. I'll never forget the piercing eyes of John Clayton. So after, and Kurt Warner was super, like, I think Kurt was like not upset, but he will probably saw the disappointment in my face. And Kurt was like, right after John, told, excuse me, Kurt's like, hey, stick around. I'll get you right after. And he did. And Kurt and John finished their conversation, their interview. And Kurt came to me and we did our, 2 minutes of conversation, of interview. So those are my Kurt Warner stories. He would set up a table. I mean, Kurt Warner is like the classiest athlete in existence. Like I don't, I hate using those terms, like, oh, he's the nicest, he's the most, he's the classiest. I hate using those terms because it's hard to compare. But he's definitely on a short list. If you were to make a list of the most classy professional athletes, Kurt Warner is definitely on that short list. He would set up a table. So he would sign after practice, if they didn't have meetings to get to or anything like that, he would go down the line and he would sign for every single person. If there were still people waiting, he's tired. He's, just 2 hours of football practice. He'd set up a table next to Brophy Hall. Brophy Hall was where it was the kinesiology department, and that's like where the locker rooms were for training camp. And he'd come out with a table and a chair, and he'd sit there, and the line would be, and he'd sign, and he'd sit there and sign for every single person. He is, I shouldn't say was in past tense. He is a great guy. And during that time, he was, just so awesome to be around. Brad says everyone is taller than me, even Brody. I have middle school girls who are taller than Dan. I would not doubt if Herman's daughter is taller than me. She's 5'6". Oh, I think she's got Brad beat. So those are my Kurt Warner stories. It was a lot of fun. Very fortunate as I was a young, 21 as a young kid, being out there with, grizzled veteran media personnel, NFL players, and you learn a lot, like not just from just how to conduct yourself, being around, those types of professionals, because, you're 21, you're a kid, you're like I said, I was immature, but being around, it kind of, it helps you mature. I think a little faster being in that environment. So it's a lot of fun. I wish I could find my Rams training camp pass, but I can't. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I saw that was in the theaters. I saw a commercial for it yesterday during football games. How about the Bears won? I couldn't believe it. They weren't on my TV up here. I had the NFL Network going for a little bit, and would see some highlights, like, oh, down by 2 touchdowns, and then we're joking back and forth in a text string, and one of my buddies was like, the Bears won. And I'm like, yeah, right. Holy crap. I looked at the score. They won by a point. Unbelievable. Doesn't matter. They could go 0-16. Doesn't matter. They're not getting a draft pick because they don't have a first-round draft pick. So they're, they could, now it's what? How many games are left? 1 or 2? So anyway, I digress. I've got some shipping to do. Brad, are you going live? I think Brad's going to be going live here. Herman, are you going live tonight? Herman and Ken, check out his channel, 3B Collection. Brad is Texas Card Dude. They won on 2-point conversion to win by a point. Brad is not going live. Okay, glad I asked. That's right. You said you're not going. You're not doing mornings anymore. Gosh, how quickly I forget. Done for the year, and then he's doing evenings. So check out Herman and Kin tonight at 7 p.m. Central. Assume Herman is going live tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 3B Collection channel. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Monday, and we'll chat tomorrow.